It's come to my attention that Aaron Smith-Levin released a 21-minute video on my TikTok about Scientology. I feel like a lot of his followers don't actually know the person they're supporting. All of the things that I'm telling you is all documented by the police, by the FBI.
Hey everyone, Aaron here, and welcome back to the channel. I gotta tell you, I absolutely love when Scientology and the internet collide. Scientology and the internet are like oil and water. These things do not mix, and every time Scientology and the internet do collide, it provides us with non-stop, never-ending entertainment and plenty of what you might call teachable moments. I'm talking today once again about Scientology TikToker Michaela Arrington. 2 weeks ago, I uploaded a video to my channel called Reacting to TikTok Videos Promoting Scientology. I uploaded this on July 29th, and as of this morning, the video has just over 62,000 views. And I have to thank Michaela for helping to spread the word about this video, for helping to promote my channel. Michaela posted a response video on her own TikTok mentioning me by name, talking about the video, even mentioning details like it being 21 minutes long. Michaela essentially encouraged all of her followers on TikTok to come over to my channel and watch the video, which contains, by the way, highly confidential Scientology information that Scientologists aren't supposed to know this stuff. Scientology doesn't want anyone else in the world reading or listening to this stuff. Michaela made a very strategic error here. The error is that I posted that video to YouTube. I didn't post that video to TikTok. Michaela responded to my YouTube video by doing a video and posting it to her TikTok. So really all she did was help me spread the word about my content, and that is not something Scientology is gonna look upon very favorably at all. Now, like a good little Scientologist, Michaela's response to my video was just to attack me with a bunch of vicious lies. And by the way, Michaela published this response video after having already blocked me on TikTok, which is so typical Scientology. So anyway, a bunch of people sent me the video. Let's take a look at it and see what she had to say.
Hello, so it's come to my attention because I have been flooded with a very...
Okay, so let's take a look at the link that she has posted on the bottom of her video. www.aaronsmithlevin.com, which is a hate website that the Church of Scientology put up about me the very night my episode of Leah Remini's Scientology and the Aftermath aired on the A&E network. God, it seems like 4 or 5 years ago now. Was it 2017? I honestly forget. But it was years ago that season 1 of Scientology and the Aftermath was on. My episode was like 5 or 6. The order's been mixed up on Netflix. Now if you go to Netflix, I'm episode 7, season 1. But anyway, back at that time, the Church of Scientology created these hate attack websites for every single contributor of the Scientology and the Aftermath show. And not only has that website been live the entire time since it was originally posted, but Scientology pays to promote the website on paid ads. If you search my name on Google and the #1 result is this website, they pay to have the website show up. It doesn't bother me at all. I love that this website exists because I use it as an example to shine the spotlight right back on Scientology. In fact, I even did a reaction video back in the day when the website first went up. I posted a video to my channel going through every paragraph of the website and responding to it. I'll post a link to it up above. But all right, let's keep going.
Very colorful messages that Aaron Smith-Levin released a 21-minute video on my TikTok about Scientology, and I feel like a lot of his followers and people in general don't actually know the person they're supporting. So that is why I am making this video right now. This is not my opinion. I have personally never met the man. This is all based in reality. All of the things that I'm telling you is all reported, documented by not only the police, by not only the FBI, also Tampa Bay Times and numerous other news publications. So it's all public information. Starting off the list, this man, Aaron, moved to Clearwater to join council so that he could get rid of Scientology, which A, is unconstitutional, you can't do that, and B, is just whack-doodle. All
right, I'll pause it right there. Now look, when it comes to a lot of, well, the mudslinging that Scientology does against its former members, or, you know, if you want to be cynical about it, the mudslinging that former members do against Scientology, I think it's fair to say that the former members come off as intensely credible, and Scientology comes off as not very credible at all. But if somebody wanted to just be very cynically look at everything as like a he said, she said, or he said, or whatever, they said, perhaps one could pose the question, how is one supposed to know the truth of the matter? And in some cases, it's simply not possible to know the truth of the matter beyond just deciding who you trust. But one way to determine the truth of the matter is to isolate specific things that are said that can be proven or disproven. And if the things that are able to either be proven or disproven can be disproven, you can use that as a pretty reasonable yardstick or measuring stick for whether the other things that are said are also true or false. So let's take a look at what she said right here. Aaron moved to Clearwater just to run for city council. So guys, I ran for city council this last year. I have lived in Clearwater for 16 years. My wife and I moved to Clearwater when we were still in Scientology back in 2006. My wife and I had both been members of Scientology's Sea Organization in Los Angeles. I'd only been in the Sea Org out there for about 4 years. My wife had been in the Sea Org for like 14 or 16 years, and we were having a baby. You're not allowed to have children in the Sea Organization. If a Sea Org member gets pregnant, you either have to go get it taken care of or you have to leave the Sea Organization. My wife and I chose to leave the Sea Organization. We moved here to Clearwater because her family lived here in Clearwater. My family lived up in Philadelphia. Moving to Clearwater was the best option to raise a family. We were still Scientologists from 2006 until officially 2014. And yet you have Michaela saying, Aaron moved to Clearwater just to run for city council so he could get rid of Scientology. It is such an ignorant, uninformed statement. It does beg the question, where's Michaela getting this information from? Not even Scientology would say something as uninformed as that. They might say something more slanderous or more false than that, but not something that is just so obviously, provably false and incorrect. So where is Michaela getting her information from? And if this is the type of care, or I should say lack of care, that Michaela shows when doing research, collecting facts, and reporting facts, what does that have to say for everything else Michaela has to say in her videos, including what she has to say about Scientology, what she has to say in defense of Scientology? If Michaela shows that she's completely incapable of differentiating between fact and fiction, or doesn't care to differentiate, how is anyone supposed to take her seriously when she talks about Scientology? She also says I was running for council to get rid of Scientology. It's just such an ignorant statement. It's not possible to just get rid of Scientology, much less from a seat on Clearwater's city council. At no point in my entire 6-month campaign did I ever say those words. I never said it was a goal of mine to get rid of Scientology because I don't set goals that are impossible to obtain, and I don't communicate about my goals in such a careless fashion that my goals could be misinterpreted. The language that I did use when running for city council was that we needed council members who would actually do something to fight back against Scientology's takeover of downtown Clearwater. Fighting back against Scientology's takeover is absolutely something within the power of Clearwater City Council members, even though none of them lift a finger to do anything like that except for Council Member Mark Bunker. I could speak on this topic for an hour. I don't want to get sidetracked, and I don't want to make the video any longer than it has to be. So let's see what else Michaela has to say.
The board didn't take him seriously. He didn't end up getting elected. I think he barely even ran because they literally said, you're wasting our time, because that's the only reason why he wanted to run.
Guys, she clearly seems to think that it's up to the city council to decide who gets to join the city council. She doesn't seem to have any idea how elections work. She says the board didn't take me seriously. Of course, by board, she means the council. It may not be up to the city council to decide who joins it, but I promise you, the council did take me very seriously. The mayor of Clearwater, Frank Hibbard, took an unprecedented move, never been done before in the history of Clearwater, of endorsing and openly campaigning for my opponent, Lena Teixeira. That is how seriously the council took my candidacy. And it's true I did not win the election. I came in second place in a 3-way race. I got 36% of the vote and lost to Lena Teixeira, who got 43% of the vote. She says I barely ran. I raised over $72,000 for my campaign. That money was raised from over 1,000 individual donors from every single state in the United States, because that is how much people want to see Clearwater stand up to Scientology. The money I raised for my campaign would have been the most money ever raised for a Clearwater City Council race that was a non-mayoral seat, other than the fact that my opponent raised over $78,000. That is how seriously the council was taking these campaigns and what a threat Clearwater's political establishment, who is in the pocket of Scientology, saw me if I were to have won the election. Okay, let's see what else she has to say.
That he got into 2 bar fights, physical altercations, which I'll show behind me. This is found on the Tampa Bay Times, so you can just type in that article. Also, here is another one on Florida politics.
Oh, I love it. Okay, great. Let's take a look at both of these back to back. Okay, so the first article that she shows a screenshot of, it's a little occluded here, but it says Clearwater City Council candidate caused bar altercations, reports say. This is an article that ran in the Tampa Bay Times in December, this past December, halfway through my city council race. Now, this article talks about an incident where, and you guys tell me if you think this is just a coincidence. This is an incident where, on the very first day of my campaign, I was at my favorite hangout on Clearwater Beach called Cigar Fusion Lounge, or Fusion Cigar Lounge. And I was getting candidate petitions signed. In order to qualify to be on the ballot for Clearwater City Council, you have to get a certain amount of petitions signed by people who they then verify they have to be registered Clearwater voters. This has been my favorite hangout for about 5 years. I've been going to this place maybe 2 or 3 times a week, literally for the last 5 years. I've never had so much as a hiccup at this place for the entire time I've been going there. It's a great place. It's a cigar bar. It's got a nice lounge area inside. It's got a fantastic lounge area outside. Wonderful place to go and hang out and relax with your friends. So with the very first night of my campaign, I'm at my favorite hangout where everyone knows me and people are helping me collect signatures. People who work at the place are literally helping me approach other people who live in Clearwater and come to the place to sign the petition cards. I'm literally there campaigning. And the first night of my campaign, at my favorite hangout, I get assaulted by the boyfriend of a Scientologist. Does anyone think that's just a coincidence? Now, if you ask, how do you know she was a Scientologist? The answer is, because I know her. Her name is Sky Daly. Everyone who's a Scientologist here in Clearwater knows who Sky is. They know who Sky's parents are, Cindy and Kirk Burness. I don't know why Sky still uses her ex-husband's name, Daly. Sky is actually going out with Hulk Hogan. Now, I know what you're asking yourself. Did you get punched in the head by Hulk Hogan? No, guys, I only wish I got punched in the head by Hulk Hogan. Sky wasn't going out with the Hulkster at this time. She was dating this little dude. And anyway, it was a weird situation. I was at one end of the bar. They were at the other end of the bar. There was a guy sitting next to me who happened to comment that Sky was really hot. I made a joke about this thing, this meme that exists about the hot, crazy matrix. And I was like, well, if she's hot, you know she's crazy. Now, I didn't realize how loud I was speaking. I guess the boyfriend heard me say that. He came over, he put his hands on me. He basically said, don't say that again or I'm gonna kick your ass. And you can basically sit there and shut up, or you can stand up and we'll do something about it. Now look, I am not an aggressive, I don't fight. I don't get into fights. I'm kind of a big, loud, brash guy, but I don't fight. I also don't really know how to back down, and I sure as fuck wasn't gonna back down sitting right there at the bar in my favorite hangout. So I got up from my seat and I turned around, and as I was turning around, the guy nailed me in the face. And it wasn't just a one-off hit. We ended up on the ground, outside on the ground. This was in front of like 30 or 40 people. So anyway, after this happened, the boyfriend got up and ran away. And I said, I'm calling the police and I'm pressing charges. And I asked the people at the Fusion bar to call the police. I didn't know if they were, so I personally called the police. And they got there and I told them what happened. I told them I wanted to press charges. They went off and said, okay, let us talk to some people. They came back and said, people are saying you called her a cunt and he hit you to defend her honor. And I said, guys, this is not a he said situation. Pull the security footage. You'll see exactly what happened. So they go off, they come back, they go, oh, the security footage is video only, it doesn't have any audio. And I go, oh, well, that's perfectly convenient. I said, look, I don't care what anyone says happened. I want to press charges. These f***ing cops would not let me press charges. Now you might say, look, it's not up to the cops to press charges, that's up to the prosecutor. They wouldn't even take a statement from me. And in the process of me discussing all this with the police, by the way, I didn't realize at the time that the police's body cameras are recording the entire interview they're having with me. And they're only having this interview with me because I called the police. The guy who assaulted me had already run away. I'm the one who called the police and willingly sat there and told them every single detail of what occurred, and I'm being treated like the bad guy. So in the process of the police basically giving me a really hard time, it occurs to me, you know what? The last thing you need while you're running for city council is some official documentation that you were just engaged in a physical altercation at a bar, regardless of who is at fault. So I eventually let the police convince me not to file a report or not to press charges or whatever would have happened if I had persisted. And I drove home. Now, me not being familiar with, actual police procedures, I just assumed there would at least be some report that I wanted to press charges or make a report and was told not to. It turns out the Clearwater Police did not even write a report that this incident occurred at all, that a phone call was made, that I was interviewed. And so you might be asking yourself, then how did the newspaper ever find out about any of this? And the answer is that my opponent in the city council election, Lena Teixeira, people in her camp heard through the grapevine that this occurred. So one of the members of her camp filed a public records request for the body cam footage of any officers who showed up to that location at around that date and time. And they got the footage of the police interviewing me about the incident. And they turned this information over to the Tampa Bay Times, who reported about this incident as if the statements from the police and the statements by the perpetrator himself were actually facts, instead of comparing those facts to the body cam footage to show that these facts were not really facts after all. And when you dig into the matter even further, you might go, well, hey, if the guy who attacked you was legally justified in doing so or whatever, why did he flee? Well, it turns out the reason why this guy fled is because he was still under probation for an incident where he had beat the living out of his own wife. So you want to talk about temperaments. You've got me, who's been going to this place for 5 years, never had an incident. This guy woke his wife up out of a sound sleep upon returning home one night to then just beat the out of her. And this guy is quoted in the Tampa Bay Times article as, well, I'm saying as a reliable source. Like his version of events. Oh yeah, I punched this guy because he called my girlfriend a I even said to the police officers, I was like, can we use some common sense here? Everyone here knows me. I'm running for city council. I even showed them my petition cards. I said, I'm literally here getting signatures for my city council race. You think I'm just gonna come down here and call a woman a in front of 30 and 40 people that I actually know? I said, the story is ridiculous. And that's when I said, just pull the footage. This isn't about taking somebody's word for it. Just pull the footage. And even though the evidence of how this all went down is pretty clear and pretty obvious, you still wind up with a headline that says, Clearwater Council candidate caused bar altercations, reports say. This is how newspapers get away with saying stuff because, well, they're not saying that I did that. They're saying that there are people who are reporting that I did that. And so this is a real headline. This is a real article about something that actually occurred. And yet I am portrayed in all of this as being the perpetrator or the instigator or the bad guy, when in fact, I was the victim of a physical assault that occurred in front of 30 or 40 people, and the police refused to do anything about it. And up until this incident, I was a staunch defender of the Clearwater Police. The Clearwater Police gets a lot of heat for being in Scientology's pocket, for not doing enough to investigate Scientology abuse. I have always staunchly defended them. I can tell you that my experience with the Clearwater Police after this incident has completely changed my view of the Clearwater Police. So now let's look at the second screenshot. This is from website Florida Politics. Clearwater City Council candidate Aaron Smith-Levin punched after allegedly calling a woman a Now this is very interesting because the political consultant that my opponent Lena Teixeira was using, that consultant is Chris Latvala and his father Jack Latvala. The same Jack Latvala who, by the way, had to retire from the Florida Senate over a sexual harassment scandal. Jack Latvala got Me Too'd before Me Too was even a thing. Chris Latvala, at the time he was consulting my opponent, was also a member of the Florida House of Representatives, and he has recently walked into an open seat on the Pinellas County Commission. Chris and Jack Latvala have also been the political consultants for Clearwater Mayor Frank Hibbard and Clearwater City Council member David Albritton. Well, Chris's friends run FloridaPolitics.com. So because Chris was consulting my opponent's campaign, what he did is he had Florida Politics publish the videos so that they could then create postcards for my opponent, put a QR code on the postcards that linked directly to the police interview videos. They then proceeded to mail postcards with this QR code to every single registered voter in Clearwater. And if you ask me, this incident and how it was reported and how my opponent exploited what occurred is the reason that I lost the election. So am I a little sour about it? Yeah, I'm a little sour about it. But you see, I've already experienced just about everything a person could experience in a negative way, and I'm not backing down. Scientology has a website up about me, using my own name, attacking me with the most vicious slander. My opponent has already emailed postcards to every registered Clearwater voter with videos of me talking to the police after having been assaulted at a bar. There's really nothing more Scientology or anyone else can try to throw at me to back me off, to shut me up, to embarrass me. It's all been done, and I'm not going anywhere. All right, let's see what else Michaela has to say.
Also, for a research company that he and somebody else did, are being investigated by the FBI because of their illegal practices, which I will also show the letter that was given from the FBI to him.
Oh my God, this is such a beautiful thing. This is something she must have just straight up pulled from the Scientology website, but she must not have even bothered to read the document that she's showing. So I have a company called OTG Research Group, and we do research for hedge funds. And there's one very famous high profile client that I've had. Normally I would never talk about my clients, but this client already made it public that I was doing work for him, and he already published the results of my work. So the client was Pershing Square Capital Management, Bill Ackman, famous Wall Street billionaire. And the project I was helping him research was Herbalife. Bill Ackman famously took a $1 billion short position on Herbalife because he believed Herbalife was nothing but a pyramid scheme, and he thought that when he exposed the information, the company would completely go out of business. Bill had already contracted a lot of research work through other firms and published that research on Herbalife operations in the United States. He specifically wanted to take a look at China. I already had a history of researching multi-level marketing companies in China, and so I was contacted to do that research. I did an extensive, very thorough, fantastic job in China. I did Russia, I did South America, I did a handful of other countries. Herbalife did not take kindly to the research that I was doing. And in typical Scientology fashion, they sent me a letter threatening me. And the letter that Michaela is showing you right here that she is saying is a letter from the FBI regarding an investigation is actually a letter from Herbalife's lawyers. It says right at the top of the page, Gibson Dunn. It doesn't say FBI. Did she not even look at the letter she was describing before including it in her channel? It seems so hard to believe. And yet that's the question you have to ask. Did she not even look at the letter? By the way, the research that I did was so thorough, accurate, and effective that Herbalife ended up paying two separate fines. They paid a $200 million fine to settle with the FTC about their deceptive business practices. But more to the point of the research that I was doing, which was all outside of the United States, Herbalife Nutrition Limited agreed to pay over $122 million to resolve a Foreign Corrupt Practices Act case that was brought against it by the Department of Justice. This criminal case was based in very large part on the research that my firm did and provided to Pershing Square Capital Management, who then provided the information to the FBI. I have never been contacted by the FBI about anything other than investigations into Scientology itself. Now let's go back and compare what I've just described and what I've just read to you to what Michaela says about me being investigated by the FBI.
Also, for a research company that he and somebody else did, are being investigated by the FBI because of their illegal practices, which I will also show the letter that was given from the FBI to him.
That's it. That's all she says. He's being investigated by the FBI. Here, let me show you a letter that isn't even from the people I just told you this letter is from. It's just hilarious. Let's see what else Michaela has to say.
and he used to be on staff in Scientology, and the only reason why he was taken out was because he women. Now, I will post,
2 women? That's amazing. They used to say I only 1 woman. Anyway, this video is getting really long, so I won't do the entire description of what she's even talking about, which this is something that literally never occurred. I did address it in a previous video. I'll put a link to that video above, and I'll try to look up the timestamp so that you don't have to watch the entire video just to get the explanation. But you'll notice how, regardless whether it was 0 women, 1 woman, or 2 women that you'll notice that she says, this is why I was kicked off of staff. Guys, my wife and I left the Sea Org in 2006 when we were having our first baby. I was never kicked off staff. My wife was never kicked off staff. She doesn't seem to understand that me leaving staff was not the same thing as me leaving Scientology. I didn't officially leave Scientology until 2014. So even if what she was saying was correct, it would mean that Scientology let someone who 2 women continue to be a Scientologist in Clearwater, where they have their highest level Scientology organization. And this brings me right back to Scientology and the internet don't mix, because she thinks she's doing something special by attacking me. But the information she's trying to use to attack me with ends up making Scientology itself look so bad, and it's right there for the entire internet to see. Michaela, I really suggest you stop trying to talk about Scientology. I suggest you stop trying to talk about me, not because I don't want you to, but because you're just gonna keep getting yourself into trouble with Scientology, and I don't want that for you. All right, let's see what else Michaela has to say.
Now, I will post the links to different articles and whatever so that you can do your own research on it, because, like I said, I've never met the man. I don't know him. I know that he brought it upon himself to release an entire video on me. He's never met me, just completely bashing me. 20 minutes of going over my TikTok that has like 2,000 followers. And so, unfortunately, a lot of you don't actually know who this man is, and I'm just here to educate you on things that are public so you can go look at it for yourself. Anyway, I hope that you guys are all having a fantastic day, and hopefully this will be the last one of these videos. Anyway, bye!
Hopefully for you, it's the last one of these videos. So Scientology, you know, the ethics officer at the Church of Scientology, or whoever it is that's going to become aware of what Michaela is doing here, they wouldn't actually object to any of the inaccuracies that that are in Michaela's videos. What Scientology would find most objectionable about what she's done is that she has inadvertently promoted me and my channel and my videos, including all the discussions of confidential Scientology issues. She's promoted this to her entire follower base. And it's not huge. I mean, she's got like a couple thousand followers or whatever it is. But it is considered kind of a high crime. It's a pretty serious thing to essentially take information that Scientology would rather nobody ever heard about and to publish it to an entire audience of people who didn't have any idea about these things prior to it. I would suspect we're going to see Michaela stop publishing to TikTok. I mean, particularly not about Scientology and not about me. Kind of like we've seen Tampa Brad stop posting to YouTube recently. We might have seen the last of Tampa Brad. For my sake, I hope he comes back. Responding to his videos is a lot of fun, but we just might have seen the last of him. And it's possible we've seen the last of Michaela Arrington after I publish this video. I guess we'll have to wait and see. All right, everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you to everybody who watches until the very end, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye!